This is Bad Movies We Love, part of the Shice Podcast Network.
Hello, Bad Movie Lovers. Welcome to Season 3 of Bad Movies We Love. Yay! I am your host, Nick Scheist.
The master of this stupid stuff!
And whether this is your first time listening to the show or you've been here for a while...
If you're listening to this, you are the Resistance.
That's right. And the Resistance is doing well because you, the listeners, have helped grow the show. You've decided that the show is worth your time, and you told somebody else that it might be worth their time as well. So thank you so very much for being part of it. If you'd like to make a donation to the show, you can do so at ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/badmovieswelove, LOVE. There's going to be some new goodies available this year for everybody that donates, and the bonus episode of this show is up and available for members only right now. But today, right now, we kick off the unofficial, accidental sci-fi month on Bad Movies We Love as I'm rejoined by my friend Donald Langley from You, Me, and a Movie. He was the first guest ever on this show when we covered Roadhouse back in the summer of 2022. And we got together to talk about a movie that we both love so much. And we got so much more out of the conversation and out of the film than I think we thought we were going to. And that movie is Paul W.S. Anderson's cult sci-fi horror classic, Event Horizon from 1997. So buckle up and get ready for Season 3. Viscera and bones and flesh.
I was like, that's pretty horrifying.
It's very ambitious.
When's the big bad alien monster gonna pop out?
I don't need a rigid definition of what that place is, but I do want to see that place.
The ship's possessed.
Okay, well, you know what? I think I should touch that.
Mama, you can call her Mama Bear.
A human body got liquefied on the wall next to you, so that's probably where the blood is from.
I'm gonna get a safe distance, and now we're gonna blow this shit up.
Save yourself from hell.
All right.
Donald, welcome back. You were the first guest. You're the person that helped me get this whole shebang started back when we did Roadhouse at the beginning of Season 1, which I don't even remember when that was at this point. Maybe like summer of 22?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, maybe like late summer, early fall of 22 is when we really like kick the tires and light the fires on this show. But thank you so much for rejoining me.
Thank you for having me.
When I did my sort of like 2023, it wasn't really like a wrap-up show. It was more just like, hey, thanks to the people that have contributed and been guests. And I was like, you know what? Like, there's nobody that I'd rather have come back on the show to start Season 3 officially. So thank you for being here.
Oh, that's so sweet, Nick. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad to be here, man. Thanks for inviting me again. I didn't have any... I'm gonna do a podcast on my calendar recently, and you mentioned it, and I was like, actually, this would be a lot of fun. As you know, we have our group talk chats on Saturdays for Shice. Really hard for me to make those Saturday ones with all the house stuff going on, but it's good to finally sit down in the evening and talk about film that I really like. I'm assuming you like as well.
I do. This is a film that I love, and for all the people out there that are going to listen to this, we're talking about Event Horizon from 1997, and I am not 100% sure on how we decided to talk about this. I think somebody maybe in the group chat had mentioned it in passing, and you said that you liked it. And I was like, well, technically, like, this is in the bad movies we love realm. And then we were just like, all right, let's do it.
That's exactly how it happened. A lot of times when you ask me to do things like this, I think Roadhouse was the same way. It just got mentioned in passing, usually on Twitter, and
Yeah.
somebody mentions it. I'm like, oh man, that movie's so awesome, and he's like, hey, that movie seems to be one of the bad movies we love, so let's do an episode. So yeah, this is how we'll go with that. That's exactly how this one happened. And man, watching it again, I love this movie even more every time I watch it.
Yeah, you know what? It's a movie that I never get tired of. It's like
Yeah.
I know all the beats are coming. It's just
Mhm.
I love the style, and I think because you and I are both fans of that original Alien film, and we see sort
Mhm.
of that similar like gothic, I don't want to say like low budget, but industrial kind of
Mm.
spaceship, where this isn't
Mhm.
flashy like we've seen everything that's like super modern in a film like Oblivion or Passengers, where it's like, oh, this looks like some high-end architect design like a brand new home kind of design. This is very much a utilitarian type of spaceship design. And so it definitely borrows aesthetically from Alien, and I think that's a easy sort of like access point, especially for me, because I know that when I'm watching the movie, it's already telling me visually, just like based on the set design, that like I'm in a place where I'm in space, but also horror is going to happen.
Oh yeah, you hit the nail on the head with the utilitarian type style of space horror. I'm way more into that too. This is if I had a favorite genre of horror. Horror is my favorite genre of film, but if I had to pick like a subgenre, I want to say space horror like this, but there's not much of it, so it's hard for it to be my favorite subgenre. But yeah, Alien is easily, it's my favorite movie of all time, because it's the working man that is depicted, or woman, Ripley, so in the horror. Same thing with this film, like you said, it's not the big flashy rich people type stuff and big spaceships. It's just a lone spaceship that got lost in space. And my favorite. One of my favorite horror games ever is Dead Space, which
Yeah.
was really influenced by this movie as well. So this is just in the middle of my wheelhouse with film, like horror genre. So yeah, I love pretty much everything about it.
Yeah, I like that what you said of like working man's horror, because I think like in
Hmm.
my mind, I'm like, yeah, it is like blue collar almost, in that
Hmm.
even in this, like Lawrence Fishburne and his crew of characters here, he mentions a line to the doctor where it's like, you took us out of like much deserved leave. So it's like these are people that are here because it's going to pay well and because this is their job, but it isn't really about like the science for them in the same way that with the crew of Alien, it's like they're on a planet to like do a specific job, and it's not really about the science side of it, where we get a Dr. Weir or we get Ash in Alien, where they're very much focused on like the science fiction part of the story, and that's kind of where the two collide, is what gets the ball rolling on the actual story for us as the audience, at least.
Yeah, um, and it's with in line with that and what they have to get right, which I think everyone they got right, and this was the casting. Those everyman and blue collar worker type people, which Alien is probably the greatest example of that, with its casting. But man, Lawrence Fishburne, it's Miller. He's I yeah. I before this, you've seen him play the kid that's all fun and games and everything, but in the middle of a war in Apocalypse Now, you see him be like the gangster type guy, like in King of New York, or which
Yeah.
was just he's really great in. Or was it Blue Collar? Is that the name of that movie? He's amazing in that. But he found in this film where he's just hard nosed captain. Like I think he's amazing in this film. Like, I think he's great. And I know I read they there were other people on the short list to be the that character. I know Arnold was one.
That would have been a crazy ass movie.
Right? Come on, the ship's possessed. Who I think they'll come back to me. Bruce Willis was on the short list.
Okay.
Which that could have been good. I think he could have done well as that. But yeah, I think all the casting is just great. Sam Neill as he does what he does in this, and in the Mouth of Madness is kind of the same. We our chat group we talk about his performance and Possession all the time, how great he is in that. Even I recently watched his Omen film. I think it's the third one, I believe. He's pretty. He's a good bad guy. I'll just say that. I think Snow's a great bad guy. But yeah, they. One of the things you can easily mess up in these characters. It's on in a spaceship, and the whole film is all the characters have to be hits. And I think they all hit for me, and they're all really good actors, like seasoned actors.
Yeah, because even like Kathleen Quinlan, who is like in the hierarchy of characters, she's maybe like fourth or fifth in terms of like importance, but like yeah, she's a very skilled, venerable actress to put in that role, and she nails that part well because you do sort of need a motherly figure in that cast somewhere, and she does that really, really well.
Oh yeah, yeah. I haven't seen too much of her work. I don't think she was in recently. I saw she was in with Kurt Russell's Breakdown, I believe was the name of it.
Yeah.
She's good now. It's a good movie. Yeah, she has that calming presence in there, and it's really cool seeing all the characters, the ones that they show, like their fears. Her little backstory, and the way their backstories come in the film it's not these long drawn out monologues. You hear a couple lines, they show you something, and you get exactly, okay, she has a son that's sick. And her one line is that I'm supposed to be, or I got someone else to take care of him since I had to come do this, or something like that. And then we get the cool horror scene where she starts hallucinating. So, they nail their characters really well, even just with the little bit that they get to work with.
Yeah, I read an interesting tidbit that I don't know if it was the producer, if it was Paul W.S. Anderson, the director, who had told them individually as characters, like, I want you guys to work on your own backstory for these characters, so that way, like, you feel it. And what you were saying about sort of the simplicity of the delivery of their backstory, it's like you're giving the audience enough credit for their intelligence to be like, we can show you this and just have you fill in the blanks. We don't need a flashback sequence to Earth where she's talking to her kid and, we're going down that rabbit hole for each character. It's like, no, we're going to show you a glimpse and we'll let you do the math on your own. And like, even if you don't figure it out now, don't worry, like, we'll come back to it. And the movie is going to move you along at a pace where you don't necessarily have to dwell in any of that anyway.
Right, yeah, and it does a really good job of that, of moving, as you say, moving the film along with little pieces of information here and there, until you ultimately put everything together the way Miller puts. I mean, a lot of people already figured out before that, but when Miller comes out and says, it knows your fears, and it's playing off that, like, just it gives you little pieces of it until then. But I love the whole mystery, like, what's going on with this ship? When's the big bad alien monster going to pop out? Guess what? It never does.
And that's a lot more frightening in a lot of ways, because it isn't this thing that is just like, oh, we know that we're running from it and it's over there, we're over here. It's this thing that you don't know when it's going to pop up. It's kind of always inside of you, and you're fighting yourself, which is a very scary thing as well. It's a different kind of fear than a monster kind of fear.
Yeah. I guess the writer Philip Eisner was going through like a lot of bad stuff when he wrote it, and which you can tell. But it's there's other horror movies out there, I'm sure, and probably thrillers of the character's biggest fear actually happening to them, and I mean, but that's something everyone can relate to. And it didn't. I don't want to say lazily it decided not to put a monster in it, which I'm sure that's what the what's the company this was made for? Was it Paramount?
I think it was Paramount.
It was Paramount who did Titanic, because it was the same. Because this was Titanic was supposed to come out that summer in '97, and everybody knows about all the delays and filming and shooting Titanic. It got pushed back to December, so they needed a summer blockbuster. And Phil Eisner was like, "Hey, I want to write a movie of The Shining in space," and they're like, "Oh, that sounds cool." But they could have lazily made him say, "Hey, we want you to put a monster in here, so we have a face to sell with it." Like, a lot of horror. Which in the '90s, we didn't get a lot of that until Ghostface, I guess. But in the '80s, and it was mainly, you had to have that monster, that bad guy, villain. But for them to let this story go on with no real villain, really, other than basically hell is the villain. That was a big swing. I'm glad they let him do it, because I did read there was a lot of manipulation with test audiences and stuff. That was a big thing for them, and that's sad to hear and everything. But it's kind of, when you're dealing with somebody like Paramount, it's kind of expecting. And now they really want they want it to screen well, test well before. Otherwise, go get your ass in there and start editing.
Yeah, get the blood orgy out of this. We need to sell. We need to sell this to general audiences.
I'm surprised as much that got in there. That's like rewatching it. Like, man, that's like it's quick glimpses and flashes, but that's pretty rough, man. But then you see, and like I have the collector's edition from Scream Factory, and you see in like the documentaries and stuff that what was in there is like even more of some bad stuff going on. Like I can see why they wanted that stuff cut out, but I would love a director's cut.
Yeah, we'll come back to that later as we get into some of the trivia information. But before I forget, too, what you had said about Laurence Fishburne being like the right choice for this, given how many other people were sort of circulated in that conversation, you see the foundation for him being Morpheus in this film. Like,
yeah. Nice.
Him being the captain of the ship, his cadence, sort of his energy. There's even a line delivery somewhere in there. I'm like, that's basically the Matrix right there. So it was nice to see that, like, oh, somebody else recognized that. And even though the movie didn't like perform financially at the box office, it doesn't obviously have high ratings, which is why we're talking about it on this show. But in the preparations for making the Matrix, they watched this movie and they were like, this is going to be Morpheus here. And so I love to see that, because all the bones are already there.
Oh yeah, that I didn't even think of that. That's exactly right. This is Morpheus as the captain. A space horror movie. That's right. Yeah. Man, I didn't even think of that, because he's that guy that just has a specific mission he has to do, and he's going to get it done. Save people. He won't, his whole thing is to keep his crew alive. In this one, and of course in the Matrix, he wants to save the world, basically. So that's good call out.
I remember, actually, it was the scene where they're first introducing Dr. Weir to the crew of the Lewis and Clark is like exactly the same as when Neo wakes up on the Nebuchadnezzar. And it's like, oh, here's this person there. That's their job. And that's that person. That is their job. It's like, oh, wow. It's like, this is like almost the shot for shot replica of that scene. So I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, all right. The Wachowskis watched Event Horizon before The Matrix. And like, that was only a year after this film came out, too. So not super surprising, but it's something that I just never really like honed in on until now. Maybe it took me enough watches of getting around all the other things I love about the movie to sort of like just pick up on that one thing. But I know for the people that are listening to this, you probably have watched Event Horizon, but we're going to be getting into a lot of spoilers. If you have not watched Event Horizon, you may want to watch it and then circle back. But I want to ask you too, like, if you had to give a brief sort of overview of what this movie is, or like a tagline or something that would really convey what the film is, what would that be?
Oh, I didn't even think of trying to do that. I mean, it's a crew gets sent out to space after getting a signal from a ship that got lost on the outer reaches of Neptune and disappeared, and now it's showing up again, and they send the creator of that ship and a crew to, if there's anyone alive on board, rescue them. Other than that, get as much data of where it's been, what happened to it. That's basically all there is to it.
And then shit hits the fan.
A lot of blood and guts and gore.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Oh,
And
right from the opening scene, man. Oh, so good.
yeah. That opening scene, I heard like the VFX cost like a third of the total budget of the film just for that one
God,
shot.
yeah.
So they're like, oh crap. We maybe blew our wad a little early in the process here, but you know what? It was totally worth it. And just get on board and we'll carry you the rest of the way.
That's a great opening scene. And yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, like, what is your sort of, I mean, you said this movie's in your wheelhouse of like, it just scratches like a particular itch. It checks certain boxes. And same thing for me. It combines a lot of things that I like together. And it just makes it like a very appealing film for me. But like, what was your relationship with this? Was this something that like when you were younger, you were looking forward to this movie coming out? And this was like, hey, I'm going to the theaters to see this? Was this something that got to you maybe on home video or cable or something afterwards?
No, it came out when I was a teenager, so I would have been, and it was the summer, so I was playing baseball. So I didn't watch a lot of films as a teenager. I was always on travel ball, but like I did not see this when it first came out. I didn't see The Matrix when it first came out. I think that came out, I was like 18, so I saw The Matrix before I saw this, actually, to tell the truth. But no, when I saw this, you know, I was after I graduated high school, so I was getting more into film then, especially horror film. In the '90s, well, there was a whole conversation about '90s being, pretty bad for horror fans, depending on how you look at it and what you want from horror. But now, I remember the first time I watched it, um, I wasn't yet aware that space horror was like my favorite subgenre of horror yet. Probably at that time, it was probably something like J horror or any kind of Asian horror at that point. But it wasn't until like my mid 20s or something where I found out and actually felt that Alien is my favorite film of all time after rewatching it. Dead Space came out in that time frame, and I played that. It was like the first game I played on the PlayStation 3. I was like, "This is incredible!" Like I haven't played video games in a long time. This is amazing. This is terrifying me. It's just there's nowhere you can go. You're in space. You can't go outside. You can't. You're confined to the ship. Alien does it. We'll say that word a lot. Alien does it perfectly. This movie, I think it does it perfectly too. Number, it maybe even more so to some people, because in Alien, once you find out it's the monsters, you can start trying to, okay, how does the monster die? You start learning little pieces of how can I fight this monster? You never figure anything out like that in this movie. Your only way you can escape is another ship or a pod, an escape pod if they have those things like that. And you're at far reaches of space, and this takes place in 2047, I believe. So there's not. I mean, they'd have to use the only way someone could get to them quick enough is to use the event horizon because of what it can do in space time. So there's nowhere, no one can come get them. No, it's just that's pretty terrifying. I know. Space is terrifying to me, I guess, in that way. A lot of people have fear of, being in open water because there's nowhere to go. It's kind of that same. Michelle's exactly like that. She can't do open water. So I'm like that. I guess that would be with space. You can't go outside. Just in the water, you can't go under the water. You die. You can't tread water forever if you're stuck on it. So it just plays on that fear perfectly, and it's gory. I like gore. We can have a whole conversation on the effects. There's great practical effects, some amazing practical effects, especially in those the videos of the Lost Crews. They could have put more in there, which there is a lot more of that, and they show them the disc, and it looks amazing. And I don't know how they did it, but there are some questionable video effects. But it came out in '97. They're discovering visual effects at that time. A lot of great movies in the late '90s that looked like this in the effects wise, and we forgive. So I'm a huge harper on bad CGI, which in today's movies. But I kind of look past it in like movies from the '90s, and I read they did decide to go with a lesser known effects company to do this. I can say the art style, the production design, the production designer. Blocking on his name right now, Burnett or something like that. This was like his first big gig. But what makes Alien so great? Another one is the production design and artwork from Geiger, right?
Yeah.
That pretty much made this movie. And Paul W.S. Anderson kind of wanted to go that route that Ridley Scott went with this, and was looking for that inspiration in art and everything. And he found it in Bosch, which we all know that guy. We see in this film, we see it right away. So I think, great production design, really good practical gory effects, set it in space, and then let it be a mystery as well, where things have to slowly get shown to you at a time. And that's my wheelhouse. Like, perfect in horror. It doesn't. There's no like, oh, you have to think a lot about what the filmmaker's trying to say with it. And that's really big in horror today, and that's fine. That's great. But I don't. I lean the other way in my horror. I just want you to try to scare me with, visuals and atmosphere. That's my wheelhouse.
Yeah, and that's something that this movie does in spades for sure.
Right.
And like the thing you had mentioned about sort of isolation horror is something that appeals to me because it is this thing where it isn't a monster, it's not a ghost, it's not any of these things. It's just like the situation you're in is terrifying. And you're stuck, like whether it be out in the ocean. There was that ski lift movie Frozen where it's like, oh, the ski lift breaks and they're like 30-40 feet in the air, and it's like, hey, you're just stuck and now you have to figure this out, and like that's a shitty position to be in. And I think there's levels to that, obviously, and being out in space with a ship that's possessed by demons or something, like that's a pretty extreme example of that. But it's what I like about it because it's very ambitious, and it does get to play into the mystery element, like you said. It's not this thing where, oh, you have to have any preconceived knowledge of theology. You don't really need to know anything about heaven or hell. It's not trying to push that message on you. It's just like, this ship went somewhere very scary, and we don't necessarily have answers. But in order to rationalize it for the average person, we're just going to be like, hey, the ship went to hell or something, and it came back with a whole bunch of stuff wrong with it, and now the ship's alive, and it's trying to make sure that we die or kill each other or whatever, and it lets it be that without having to overthink anything, and that's great about it.
Yeah, well, I guess I wonder how I would not mention the Hellraiser by this moment, by this time. It's very, very Hellraiser. It's very Clive Barker-esque in what the actual horror is. If you read any of his books or if you've seen any of the Hellraisers, it's a lot like that. It's not, it's not something you can reach out and touch and kill and win. Right? And apparently, I mean, it's a good ending to it where you don't, they have that jump scare at the end. I know they shot like 3 different endings, and that was one of them. There is an ending they did have where Miller's fighting Weir, or the Burning Man, I guess you say. So I don't know if it was Weir or not, but it turns out to be actually it might be the person he didn't save, but it turns out this entity introduces itself as a demon from hell. So they cut that, they took that out after testing, so that leaves it even more ambiguous, and I kind of like that a lot.
Yeah, I like that about it too, because it isn't for sure like if it went to hell, because then it implies that there's a heaven, and then you get into some other questions that the movie doesn't need to answer. All you need to know is that it's some other place, and I kind of like the idea of it being like a hell dimension. There's just some place in the universe where, like, hey, it went through into a different reality, and what's happening over there is hell like, and that's all I need from it. I don't need a rigid definition of what that place is, but I do want to see that place. I would like to see that, just to be honest.
And from the safety of my couch, let me see that.
Exactly. I don't want to be on the ship, but I would like to observe at a distance safely.
That's awesome.
I guess the final question before we jump into the trailer is for the people that like. Let me reframe that. Why would you, if you could rationalize it, why do you think someone would say this is a bad movie?
I think horror audiences want a monster. They want a villain, for one. Which is, same thing with Hellraiser. It wasn't beloved at first until Pinhead shows up. Everybody, and that's why Pinhead became the face of Hellraiser,
Yeah, good
even
point.
though he wasn't supposed to. And it's there's the effects, maybe when it came out, these weren't big names that were selling movies, blockbusters at the time. It can feel rushed at times because so much they cut like over 30 minutes out of it, and they had to do it in like 4 weeks. So you feel that a little bit, but for some people, they might not get some of the information, might not translate, to understanding what's going on. I don't know. That's kind of what baffles me about why this. Not that it didn't receive well in the theater by moviegoers. That happens all the time with great movies.
Yeah.
But critics wise, to rate it as low as they did, like the script is I think the script is amazing. The some of the dialogue in this movie is so. If you read the script, it reads like a Stephen King novel. He's one of the greatest, short or fiction writers ever. So the script is amazing. The acting we already talked about. The set design, the atmosphere, the score is not bad, but it's not great or anything. But I can't answer that. Like we all have trouble trying to find why critics say the things are bad. And when I see a film, like I don't read a lot of critic reviews at all. I don't watch or listen to a lot of critics. I was never big on listening to Siskel and Ebert or anything because at a young age I realized movies are going to appeal to different people. Like I still can't stand Star Wars, but people love that movie, and I love that people love that movie. It's just not for me. So it's I haven't read the reviews for the movie, honestly. The critic reviews. I mean, I've had conversations with people about it, but every person that has seen it and wants to talk about it like it a lot.
Yeah,
so
I've never actually
haven't
met the person that doesn't like it. So
exactly. So that's I can only speculate to why they. I mean, I'm kind of interested now. I might go back and read some of those reviews and why it got rated so low when it came out.
Yeah, and
I don't know. I mean, every Paul W.S. Anderson movie, it's rated badly before the movie even comes out. I think every single one of his movies could be on the show.
yeah,
I think,
this is the
Resident
second
Evil
one,
right?
I think. Yeah, we did Resident Evil. Yeah. Mortal Kombat is one that I definitely want to do because that original one is fun.
It is very fun. Yes, that is a perfect. All his movies, I think, could be on this show because he just makes movies that are made for people that are for certain people, and the people that are made for like them. What?
Yeah. And I think you see that reflected in like the average user rating is like close to a 7 out of 10, but the Metascore is a 35. And fortunately, at the end of the show, we do get to dive into all of the horrible things that the critics said. So we'll get to hear at least some of the condemnation of why it was perceived as a bad film. But we're going to first go back to 1997, the summer of 1997, and check out the trailer because the reason I figured out that I like 97 as like maybe my favorite year in movies is because it was one of the first years that I got to really start choosing my own films. And so it was like I got to see something like this and be like, oh, this is great. This is like Hellraiser in space. So I went back and looked at like a lot of the release calendar and I was like, oh, look at all these. I was like, man, maybe not all of them are like timeless classics or anything, but there's a lot of stuff like this that is good and just enjoyable and pretty much hated by critics. So 97 is an interesting year in that way, but I think I also get Gattaca this year, so another one that I like that scratches a very particular itch for me. Man, let me grab the I gotta remember how to screen share here.
Yeah.
Screen share.
What films came out that year?
Before we get to the trailer, it's time for a quick word from our sponsor. Flying deep space rescue missions can be a drag, but so is trying to enjoy some cult classic sci-fi horror from a busted, worn-out old couch. That's why you need to switch to Eldridge Gravity Couches. Originally designed only for extended deep space travel, Eldridge is bringing their professional model home to the consumer. That's you. Their gravity couches were designed to cradle an immobile human body with ergonomic precision for months at a time. So what's a few hours of binge watching your favorite show when you feel perfection? The new home edition of the Eldridge Gravity Couch also comes with built-in heating, cooling, massage, and EMF pulse, so you'll get whatever you need to keep your body finely tuned while you stay sedentary. They might cost a pretty penny, but you'll feel like $1,000,000. And they're so comfortable, you won't even believe that they're from this dimension. So save yourself from the hell of an uncomfortable couch and upgrade to Eldridge Gravity Couches today. And now, back to the show. Okay, can you see that all right?
I sure can.
Let's go. Oh, here's that opening shot we're talking about.
Yep.
At 0300 this morning, TDRS picked up an automated navigation.
Start the movie upside down.
Intervals in Neptune orbit. Neptune orbit.
This is incredible. It's the Event Horizon. She's come back. Event Horizon.
Yeah, Dr. Ware's, he's very horny for this ship, like right at the beginning.
Faster than light flight. Ship doesn't really go faster than light. What it does is it creates a dimensional gateway that allows it to
The
jump
score that they
instantaneously
put with this
from one
trailer
point
is just like
another light years
kind of
away.
hypnotic, very dark though.
For the last 7 years, Doctor.
That's what we're here to find out.
After 7 years in deep space.
Ooh, trailer guy.
18 people on board this ship when it disappeared. I want them all accounted for.
Opening out
Good
the door.
voice.
It came back, abandoned.
Any crew?
And look, it's just, everything just
This place is
looks great. The production design, the
But it
suits.
didn't come back.
Look at that hallway.
Yeah. And again, you kind of get that like green circuit board look very
so
heavily
cool.
in the Matrix the next year.
Very true.
It's been beyond the boundaries of our universe.
Jason Isaacs is so good in this. It's like he's
He is.
freaked out from the beginning.
The ship is reacting to us and the reactions are getting stronger.
What are you telling me? That this ship is alive?
I have such wonderful things to show you.
Little Hellraiser.
Hellraiser. Yep.
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 My secrets. My fears.
That's very Dead Space.
Yeah, we're gonna get
Taking a tool-
explosions.
Oh, yeah. Stuff you don't see in horror movies too much anymore. Practical.
God help us.
Yeah. I don't remember seeing this trailer when it came out. I know I didn't see the film when it came out because I wasn't watching too many things back in those days. Yeah, if I saw something like that right now, I would be like,
Right.
yes, please. Which is it's funny is they're actually making or supposed to be making a show based, either I think a sequel to this movie from what I just recently found out. Amazon. I'm like, we'll see.
Yeah. Still in development, right? It's Adam
Right.
Wingard. Adam Wingard
Oh yeah, that's what I read. Yeah,
miniseries.
Yeah, if anybody can get it done, he can. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it needs it.
I don't know how
A
you'd
lot of-
make a sequel given the ending of this movie, but I wouldn't mind a prequel because it's like that whole.
Based on the crew from that first from the Event
Yes,
Horizon?
very
Yeah,
much
yeah,
so.
that'd be
I would
cool.
watch the
That would
shit
be
out of that.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Then we get to see
There's a-
that hell dimension.
Yeah, those effects, man. Like the explosions we get real explosions in this movie. There's real fire. There's stuntmen setting themselves on fire. I know there were accidents on set because of
Mhm.
explosion things like so. I mean, that's not good, but when you put your love into something like they did in this movie, and you have talented people, it shows in that film, and it's even you don't. I'm trying to think of a movie in the last decade or so where a stuntman actually let themselves on fire. I don't even know if that's a thing anymore. it's all virtual now. But
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a
that
good
stuff
question.
make my eyes light up when I see that kind of stuff back in the days. It's just the utter disregard for light to make art.
Yeah, it's like, look, I like watching things blow up, okay? Maybe that's just like because I'm a guy, and I grew up like with sports, and it's like maybe just like some stupid like monkey instinct where I'm like, yeah, I want to see it
Right?
explode. But I think like the further we've gotten from like good, actionable, practical pyro, when you see it now in film where it's like, oh, we want to blow something up, we want to have a fire, but we're gonna cheap out and do it with VFX, it's like it's noticeable, and I'm like, the fire doesn't look good, and it's like I don't want to have to think that during the movie. I want a guy in a
Right.
giant rubber suit, like RoboCop, walking through a ginormous fireball of a gas
Yes.
station that they blew up, completely irresponsible. But that guy
Yes.
made it, I think.
Didn't hear otherwise. Give
Yeah,
me
they got
Jackie
the shot.
Chan. Yeah. That's something that can completely take me out of a horror film is CG, like the CGI fire. I completely just lose myself out of the scene, whatever they're doing. I mean, I get it why it's safety and health is very important for working
Mhm.
people, but what can you do?
Yeah. I mean, I think they burned down the set in this movie with that scene where
Oh yeah,
they
yeah.
had to build a secondary one to do some
It's
like
incredible.
additional shots because obviously like whatever flammable liquid they used in that shot just got out of control and they're like, uh-oh, we burned down the gateway room on accident, so we need to build another one for some B-roll here. But in that moment, like that's a crazy shot, and it's very memorable in that way too, because the
Mhm.
gateway room itself, just the design of like the three rings and the gravity drive, and sort of the way that they walk into the room, I'm like, why are there spikes all over the walls here? Like they know that something's coming out of there that is going to be dangerous, and it's like it's totally irresponsible to have this room with these giant like 6 foot long metal spears jutting out of the wall every few feet, but it totally pays off. And
Mhm.
then when we get that scene where like the entire room is engulfed in flames, like it has a
Oh,
visceral
so
effect
cool.
that it just you wouldn't achieve doing it digitally.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, and then there was some digital mixed in with it, but that's kind of what you want out of effects. You want it, mostly practical, and then you touch it up with CGI here now, and that's what CGI today is so amazing at when it's used that way. When you can't even tell when like the parts that are real and aren't when you mix it together. So this it was the early days back then that with in '97 with the CGI. So it's okay. It looks incredible to me. I'm just rewatching it on. I don't know if they have a 4K of this. I don't believe there is one. But watching it on Blu-ray, it's gorgeous. I think it's a gorgeous movie. I think it's lit well. The dark scenes with something just out of there's a scene. It's one of the deleted scenes like, with all the buckets of blood
Mhm,
fall down on top of Jolie Richardson's character Stark. That's
mhm.
her name, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
Stark.
Stark.
All of that it looks amazing. It's the room you were describing, the water layer on the bottom, that looks amazing. Um, Even the makeup effects on Weir look incredible. And there's a scene that they get cut out, that scene when all the blood falls down the ladder, and she falls down, and it's all slow motion and everything, and then all of a sudden Weir comes crawling down the ladder upside down. I don't know if you've seen that scene.
I have
It
not.
looks it's so freaky because they cut it out, but that right when Cooper sees the blood start filling that tank,
Mm,
it's actually Weir's body being reformed in there,
mm.
and he's the one, he breaks the glass to come out, and then you see him in that next scene crawling down the ladder upside down, naked, but all cut up. Oh, it's so cool.
He's
It looks amazing.
self-mutilated at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
credit to Sam Neill. Like, he had to show up at like 2, 3 in the morning and sit for probably
Oh yeah.
7 hours of makeup
Wow.
every day to do that. And, that's something that's kind of gone away too, is like that level of prosthetic work and sort of putting in the time to like sit there in the chair and do that over and over and over again in order to like have it look the way that it does on screen.
Yeah, you're not getting that for a first time director. Like this was what Anderson's second movie, I believe. Yeah, because Mortal Kombat was his first one, I believe. But you get directors who actors will do that for us. I mean, you have Javier Botet. He was in this Wreck, or that first Wreck movie. He was the monster at the end. He played Dracula in the Dracula movie last year. Demeter. He's that guy. He's him and Jones. What's the guy that's in all the
Richard
Del
T.
Toro?
Jones.
No, he's Doug Jones, I think is his name.
Oh,
Doug Jones. He's in all the
Shape of Water and
Del Toro
Hellboy and
movies.
yeah.
Yeah, those guys. They made that their life art. But you might get some actors that will do it for a certain director. You won't see that big name actors like Sam Neill anymore do something like that for like a first or second time director.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm sure like in hindsight too, Sam Neill was probably like, I'm not sure if I want to do that ever again.
I did read it was the actors did not have a lot of fun making this movie.
Yeah, I can't blame him. But you had mentioned the lighting too, and there's like some scenes where they're doing like ambiance building early on, and they're just doing their exploration of the event horizon, and they don't really know the extent of what's happened there yet. And the way that the movie is lit during that is great because it shows so much to the audience without showing it to the actors and to the characters. So it creates that thing like in our minds where we know that something bad is happening before they do. And so like we're starting to already be afraid for them before they're getting afraid. And that's a different thing than when you are sort of experiencing the same thing as the character at the same time. You know, it's a different like fear mechanism that I think works really well here. And they do like I think it's Kathleen Quinlan's character who's maybe looking at the ship's log, or she's somewhere where she's looking down and she's investigating something, and then there's like a flicker of light, and you just see like a viscera and bones and flesh just like stuck to the walls, and there's like a ton of it, but it's so dark that when she's in there, she's like, oh, I can't even like see it. I'm just on the computer here. And then she's like, oh, I think I see like a little drop of blood. And then it flashes and it's like, oh yeah, because there's basically like a human body got liquefied on the wall next to you. So that's probably where the blood is from. But like, yeah, those moments like that, they just like, they tease you in this really enticing way for a horror film that I don't see too much anymore from horror, but it's like I'm not consuming a ton of horror every year either, but it's the kind of stuff that I really enjoy when it comes to scene setting.
Oh, that's a great way to say that. How when you make a thriller or you write a script or a thriller, and then you put the filmmaking, how a filmmaker sets a scene up like that. There's so many different ways to do that, and I didn't even think of it like that until now. The how you see something, you're seeing this thing before the character, and so you're all like, oh, don't look, you need to look over there, you need to look over things like that. That's just an art form to be able to tell a story that way visually by the filmmaker, the cinematographer, the director, and also to do it with music and ambiance and lighting, and also have that written in the script, or when you're designing the shots, things like that, the sketchboard or storyboard. I can't think of that word. When you're doing storyboards to put that shot together, okay, here we want that tells you that the filmmakers are making the film with the audience in mind.
Yes, thank you.
And that's how, that's like you said, that's the horror that I miss, that I don't see a lot making where the filmmakers actively trying to gross you out, creep you out, or just jump scare you, using the film as the medium to find a way to scare you out. It's not all about metaphors and symbolism and all that kind of stuff, which is most prevalent today. But I didn't think of it that way. Think of it in that aspect. That's just another reason why I like this movie a lot.
Yeah, I want to ask you too about sort of the timeline, because this movie starts with some text overlay, and I'm looking at the timeline like, whoa. I'm like, okay, Moon Colony in 2015. I'm like, okay, we're not quite there. We literally just had multiple moon missions fail in 2023, where I think I read the description and it was like accelerated impact with the surface, and so they couldn't land. They tried to land on the moon and they just slammed the spacecraft into it. So I'm like, okay, so even now it's not easy to run a mission to the moon. And I see 2032 mining on Mars, and I'm like, okay, well, we're 8 years away from what they thought was going to be having a mine, like mining minerals on Mars. And then 6 year or 8 years after that on the timeline, so 16 years from now, interstellar black hole travel. Like we're gonna harness a black hole inside of a spaceship with these magnetic rings. And so that like really got me thinking a lot more about Dr. Weir's character in this, because like we're introduced to him first, I think, and he's already having nightmares before he even gets to the ship. And when we are introduced to his character, they tell us that like he built the Event Horizon. I'm like, I don't know that he built it. He seems like the guy who maybe designed the warp drive, but didn't build the entire ship. So there is this weird disconnect there. And then I started just like seeing how his character progresses over the course of the film was not something that I ever paid like great attention to, because so many of the other things going on in the film were getting my attention. And I look at it this time like, was he the guy who like built this thing and always envisioned himself as an astronaut? But then when they did the maiden voyage of the ship, they didn't take him. And he's been resentful about that ever since, because like he starts to like lose his shit very early on. And it's like, well, why are you going crazy and wanting to like, oh, I am home, and fade into the shadows and be like, oh, I love Hell Dimension. Like, why are you that guy when everybody else seems like totally reasonable? So it's like he's got this weird relationship with this thing that he built that like he didn't get to be a part of that expedition. And it's like seeping into him in this way that really like drives his character development, and to the point where he, comes back as like the blood monster that solidifies. And I'm like, okay, he has like super demon strength now. Like, okay, he's just like lifting people up by their neck and throwing them across the room. All these different things that happen to him, like his self-mutilation of his face, because they blow him out the airlock and then the ship brings him back. So I think like that tether between who this character is and like why he built the ship, and this like jealousy that he's sort of harnessed for seemingly this crew too, like indirectly though, because they still get to be space explorers, like in the way that he sort of, I think, envisions himself. So that is why he butts head with them, because like he has this idea of what it was, and they are very much like the practical application of what it actually is. And they're like, we don't want to be here. We want to be at home in bed. And he's like, damn it, I want to go to Hell Dimension. So it's very interesting to just like see that and watch it sort of with that in mind, which I've never done before.
Yeah, that's really good way. That's another, we were talking earlier how everything about the character, everything is not explained to you. Everything is not just laid out. No, they don't take the time to do any of that. So that's a fun thing to do, especially with Weir. Yeah, I didn't even think about the whole jealousy part. Why wasn't he on that ship? If he designed it, if he built, and I right away when he said I built it or whatever, I definitely just figured he designed it. He's the scientist guy.
Yeah.
When he's explaining what it is and what it can do and everything, that right there, totally, he designed the core. So why wasn't he on that ship on the maiden voyage? Was it because he's the only one who could build another one if it worked or something? So did they kind of know this could be a damned mission from the beginning? Did they kind of know that, or they were like, we don't know what's going to happen when we do this, so you should probably stay here. Those astronauts are expendable. You're not. Maybe that could be a thing, but still, like he would probably like, hey, I don't care. I want to see. I want to go. This is maybe his whole life work was to build a dimension to hell. He didn't tell you. Maybe since he was a little boy, he always wanted to go to hell. So yeah, that's interesting, and I kind of didn't even need to see it. I didn't need that. It made sense that he designed it. He's going to be in, quote unquote, in love with the thing that he built. And he's the only one that's ever been built. He built it. He did it. So and he went mad because of it. If you're looking for themes in the movie, that's definitely one of them. One of technology, and how technology can ruin us all, and then yeah, uh, just him being in love with a thing that he made, that he can't let it go when it's bad. It's bad for you. You probably should let this go. So, and then to have the contrast with that with the crew, they a lot of people complain in horror movies about crew doing stupid things. This crew, everyone on there is just like want to know what's going on from Weir, and then they want to leave. They want to get out, and right away Miller's like, I'm not leaving your ship. I'm not leaving it. I'm going to get a safe distance, and I'm going to blow the shit up. So that's another reason I think why a lot of people can connect with the characters in this film and actually like the film. I can't recall characters doing stupid things really in the film.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's never like the scene where, well, I mean, Kathleen Quinlan's character, like she does fall, but it's not like in a lot of horror movies where you're running from Jason or Michael or whoever the slow moving antagonist is, and like you trip in the woods, right? Because you're like looking back too much. Like that happens like in so many horror movies because you need a reason for there to be some tension when one person is sprinting and the other person is very slowly walking. You got to close that distance somehow. But yeah, in this, like all the characters sort of act the way that you would expect a regular person to act. They fix their ship, they investigate, and as soon as he gets like any inkling that like this ship is evil, he's like, oh yeah, we're gonna get to a safe distance and launch tack missiles at this thing until I'm satisfied it's destroyed. Fuck this ship. And I was just like, yeah, fuck this ship indeed.
Yes.
So I love the line reading there too from Laurence Fishburne, because it really makes you feel like, yeah, not only do we want to get out of here, but we want to destroy this thing because it's super dangerous. And that's like a reasonable thing to do for that type of character design.
Yeah, you always got that character that wants to prod and pry too much, and a lot of times there's no real reason for that character. But in this, you understand why Weir wants to keep the ship alive. He wants to investigate more into the ship and wants to see where it went. Because we all have that little bit of us that want to see the unknown. We want to know, but to have that juxtaposition of each one is done really, really well here.
Yeah, we do get Justin, who goes into the gateway room and he's like, let me stick my hand into the black hole. Like, oh my God, come on, man. I know you're curious, but please don't do that. It walks in and it lines up perfectly for him. And then, okay, well, you know what? I think I should touch that. It's like, wait a second. No. You didn't consult with Dr. Weir or anybody about touching this. You just stuck your finger in the other dimension and you're just like, oh, nothing bad could possibly happen. And he pays for it.
But he's the young one of the crew.
Correct.
Who's gonna be the most curious and mischievous. And yeah, it makes sense. And it's funny, little aside. When I remember, I saw Matrix first before I saw it. I remember the first time I saw this. I thought that Justin, the guy Noseworthy, I thought he was the kid in the Matrix who designed the programs with the woman in the red dress at first, because I thought they were the same person, the same actor at first. I was like, hey, he was in that movie Laurence Fishburne too. Oh wait, he was in Idle Hands though, which would be another great movie for this.
Yeah, I know. I'm curious if I look up Idle Hands, like what the scores will look like, because I feel like that one is another one that's like well liked, but maybe better critically received than something like this.
Could be. I just kind of remember it being more liked by the people, moviegoers and the critics. I might be wrong, but that feels like it would be, because it's pretty goofy.
It might. I'll have to look it up when we're done recording, and then I'll get back to you. But I want to circle back to Weir quickly because, we talked about this. The shaping of the religious iconography in this film is fairly loose and it's not explicit, but the ship itself is designed after a cathedral, I think. So you get this character in Weir who is very interested in going to like the hell place, and he's almost like a demon priest at some point in this film by the time like his character arc hits the end. And then he designed this ship and he takes credit for designing the ship and falls in love with the idea that he built this thing. Yet this thing is like a cathedral, and so it is like a almost a place of worship to him, and it gives this very like interesting subtlety to the communication of its religious themes because it's not beating you over the head with it. It's
Right.
not this thing of like, oh, the crew in this case that came to rescue them, like they're not all like wearing crosses, they're not like preaching about God or anything like that. They're just there. Yet subtly in the background, we have this like Gothic cathedral that they're all inside of. And in that place, it's like bringing out the worst in everybody. And so I find it to be like a very interesting choice aesthetically to
Mhm.
set the film in that place because it is this big thing and they have these like big sweeping arches sort of overhead. It's it's got that design to it, and even the what is it, the central corridor, it's sort
Mhm.
of in the shape of a human eye. So it is
Mhm.
this thing of like this thing that's always watching you, but it's just nice to be reminded that a movie can have religious iconography and themes without it beating you over the head with the idea. But because it's like, I generally like movies about possession.
Mhm.
So, like, Exorcist, things like that, that really deal with good versus evil, what
Mhm.
happens when that comes together in like human form. And that's an interesting thing in and of itself. And it's a very different idea than this. But I love that this one is so much more like loosely connected than that, where it's like, yeah, this is here in the background, this is here in the background, and it's all going to meet in the middle with the cast that's inside of it. But it's not going to be about good versus evil. It's not about God versus the devil. It's more about like that internal struggle within everybody than it is about like outside forces. And I think that's one of the things that I really like about this movie a lot.
Oh, that's a really good point. It's all there, like you said, and I guess like we mentioned that earlier, where things can all be about metaphors and symbolism, and that's the only thing that the film is really about. Like, hey, look how clever I am at this writing. Where here it's just another part of the puzzle. It's something you can pay attention to that if you want, or you can just pay attention to the sweet gore and the atmosphere, the music, and all that kind of stuff. That's what I like in the horror films too. Just something that's able to do a lot with so little. And maybe Eisner, the writer, mentioned that he was going some bad stuff when he wrote it.
Yeah.
Maybe it is something to where he was blaming religion or blaming God for something that some happened to a loved one or something, and he put that in his writing. Maybe that could definitely be, and you can pull that out of this film if you want to or not. But yeah, I can you definitely see that. And I think there was a lot of modeling after Notre Dame.
Yeah.
If I read that somewhere, I think I read that somewhere. Um, so it's another, like I said, piece of the puzzle in this film that there's a lot in there for everyone who just likes horror.
Yeah, and when we talk about like Eisner and sort of the struggles that he was going through at the time of writing this, and then you look at the characters, and for the most part, whether it's Miller or I always forget Kathleen Quinlan's character's name. It's Peters, thank you. And
Mama, you
then
can call her Mama Bear.
Mama Bear, yeah, right. So you have these characters, Weir included, who seem to have this loss that is following them around because Weir, we see that what I assume is his wife in certain moments.
Mhm.
And so that like brings me back to his like character motivations for building the drive in the first place. Like, was he always trying to access some other place where his wife was still alive? And so like that's
Right.
something that, had I not watched this movie already a dozen or so more times before watching
Mhm.
this, then maybe I don't ever begin to have that conversation with myself. But you see, Miller is just like not quite crippled, but definitely holding on to the guilt of leaving somebody behind. And it's like his whole character motivation. And then you see
Yep.
similarly with Peters and her relationship to Justin. It's like what's going on at home with her kid and the guilt of
Right.
being away from him and how she, deals with Justin and how she wants to take care of him. So I think a lot of the bones of the script from Eisner really do deal with some personal stuff. And
Mhm.
so when you say like what he was going through at the time, like trickles down into this, I totally see that.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's why I say that script, man. When I going back and read, I just read it probably last year, I think,
Mm.
when I picked up this collector's edition, and I was reading a lot of scripts at that time, and I finally found that script, and I was very impressed by it. I think I read the script before I watched the movie again, and I hadn't seen the movie in 3 or 4 years, I believe. And I was like, wow, I don't remember most of this dialogue other than your cool one-liners.
Yeah.
I remember all, where we're going. We won't need eyes to see. You remember that stuff, but reading through the script where all that stuff got flushed out on the screen, I was like, this is if he could. I'm surprised he hasn't written a lot more stuff. To be honest, I think he's written like 3 or 4 movies in his career that have gotten made, I should say. So it's all those little tidbits that you mentioned is all that stuff you get by reading the script, but it's just a perfect example of a screenwriter and a filmmaker's being on the same page with what everything is, what their story they're trying to tell, and the themes they're trying to run through, things like, and it's
Yeah, and it's like, even though this movie shows us a lot, it is still a movie where I feel like it's a less is more story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, they have these big, huge set pieces, like the Gateway Room is amazing. They obviously spent a ton of time in practical effects to do a lot of the stuff that we saw, probably all that stuff that was cut out that they filmed that we only get like little flashes of. Like, a lot of work obviously had to go into that only to show us like a glimpse of it here and there. But it's a nice reminder that you don't have to like drown me in all of these things. Like, you can allow the imagination to do some of the work, because it is like you see like a little piece of where they went and you're like, oh, that's creepy, and you see another one and another one and another one. It's like, like my mind is filling in the blanks of like what that would all look like if it were together. And so I don't know if the 40 minutes that were cut out that made it an NC-17 version, like, I don't know if adding all that in would make it better. We would obviously get to see all of like the really gruesome practical effects stuff and the violence and the sex and all that really like pissed off the studio. So I would appreciate that part of it, but I also don't know that if we were sort of saturated in the stuff that was going on in the bloodbath, that it would have the same effect that the movie does right now. That doesn't mean I don't want to see it. I read that the first cut of the film was 130 minutes as compared to this, which is 96 minutes. So that's a lot of footage that they cut out of the movie. And like you said, between the two screenings, I think Anderson said he had a week to recut it and was just like, well, stuff's got to go because we have to rescreen this like in 2 days. And I can't make rationalized, articulate decisions on what I want to keep in when there's this much pressure on me. And because of that, like, this movie just came at a weird time where preservation was not great for it. So they like don't know what happened to like the original version of the film. But the rumor is that there's a VHS floating around out there of what the original was. But then I read that Anderson is like, well, I've never been in the same place with my producer for that film, this VHS and a VCR at the same time. Like, really? Like, they could mail it to you. You guys could make this happen if you really wanted to. So it's just, maybe it's one of those things that it's just like a myth at this point that there is a full version of it out there. But he had mentioned something too, that he's like, well, I'm not closing the door on a director's cut, because there was, I think, you said his name earlier. I don't know why I forgot it. It's not Roger Corman. It's not John Carpenter.
Joe Dante?
Not Joe Dante. It's another like iconic horror director that had their movie just like discovered in a vault in 2014, like the full version of it. And I can't remember who it was. It's not Romero. I think it was Clive Barker, actually.
Oh, it could have been.
It was some Clive Barker film that they thought it was lost, and then it was like, oh yeah, in 2014, it turns out that it just surfaced somewhere in somebody's vault, and it was like, oh, okay, well, that gives me hope that maybe somewhere out there that exists. But with the development of the series as well, I may be able to get a lot of the things, because it's like, a sequel's never what I wanted. A prequel is always what I wanted, to know like
Yeah.
the maybe that first mission and like where they go and what that crew was like before they got to that dimension and what they thought they were doing. And maybe, we see a little bit of Weir's motivation in building it and sort of the bureaucracy that goes around the decision of like, what do we want to do with this power now that we have it? We've created this thing where we can traverse great distances in the universe, but what do we actually want to do with that? What are the risks associated with this brand new technology that we've never tried out before? So like some of those things are interesting to me as a sci-fi fan more so than as a horror fan, but when the shit hits the fan, obviously, when you end up in Hell World, that's gonna be the kind of thing that the practical effects and stuff I will want to see.
Yeah. So I guess a way to test out how it would feel if we get all these backstories on these characters in very small snippets and one lines here and there, and we said we like that. So we don't get things from say DJ or Isaac's character. We don't.
Yeah.
What is his fear? What is he afraid of? But there's as you mentioned, Anderson got them to say, hey, really dig into your back character yourself, come up with things. And for Isaac's, he based his character off his brother, who's a real doctor. But it came out somewhere that his fear, he had an operation. I think you see a scar on him in the film. His big fear, so he had an operation on him when he was a kid. And so he developed this fear of being cut open alive. We don't get that in the film. So how much more will we have to have seen, like scene-wise, to hear that part of the backstory? So how do you feel knowing that is in there, that is a part of the story, but they left it out of the film? Would that have made it better? Is it better that it got left out and you can think about things like that? Does it make it cool that, hey, there's this backstory that they didn't explain?
Yeah, it is cool in that way. And I think if like DJ's character like plays a larger role in the film, I want it, because it seems like they reserved those kind of things for the characters that are going to like matter most to the story. Although like I don't think Stark really gets that much either. But, you get this scene where DJ, like, all of a sudden just grabs a scalpel and holds it to Smithy's throat. And it was just like, okay, like, DJ's got some demons. Okay, like, you were just like the cool, calm, reserved doctor that speaks Latin. And now you're about to slit your friend's throat over, like, some argument that's ensuing. It's like, okay, this guy's got some issues that I do. I am curious about that, but I mean, there's only so much time to give us that, but it would have been kind of interesting, at least. Yeah, if we're not going to dive into just like gore bonuses, basically, it would be interesting to see what these characters had sort of come up with for themselves, because like DJ Smith is a good character. Cooper's a good character too. And Cooper just kind of gets to be like, yeah, I'm always like in rescue mode. He kind of saves the day a couple of times. Like he's very functional in terms of what this story needs. And I don't think that he ever really has a moment where he's like outright terrified by something that's haunting him. So it does cast an interesting contradiction too between the kind of characters that are holding on to this thing that haunts them from the past and these other characters that like aren't burdened by that and what it allows them to do. Because Smith too seems like a guy who's not really like having a heavy conscience. And unfortunately, that moment where they've just finished repairing the Lewis and Clark, and they find out that the bomb is there, and I'm like, oh man, this shit sucks so bad. Like he just put all this work into it, and now he's not even going to leave the ship. He's like, no, I want to find this bomb, and finds it, and it's just, okay, well, this is over. But him, even Stark for a good portion of the film, Cooper, like these people like are very resourceful, and they never stop being so. They're never paralyzed by the fear that is like sort of haunting them, whereas Miller gets that, Peters gets that, like the thing with DJ snapping, like there's obviously something in his past, or the ship is starting to like get into his mind and start to tweak some of that. So I like that there's levels to it, because if it was just like, oh, everybody's going crazy, then it's almost like a free-for-all at that point. And so you sort of need people that are actionable and then people that are victimized by what's happening.
Right. It keeps it out of slasher territory.
Yeah, exactly.
One gets picked off every couple of minutes. Like some people do survive. The person who goes through the dang gate survives. I mean, he's messed, as DJ says. He won't be pretty, but he'll survive.
Yeah.
So yeah,
You mentioned that too with how he like gets injured, and so this scene where
Mm,
Justin blows himself out of the airlock.
that's
Yeah,
crazy, man.
it is crazy because not only is it just generally crazy, but you have this character who like is not in his right mind. Something's going on. And then when he's in there, the alarm wakes him up and like the terror of
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I know what's about to happen. Like you guys have to save me. Like, please, please, please. And he's just like begging. And they all know that they can't stop the countdown. And so we too, as the audience, are like, oh, this is gonna be brutal. And
Mm,
that moment where he floats out into space, I was like, he would never survive that. And then later in life, this thing has always plagued me to the point where, like, a
yeah.
couple years ago, I researched like the effects of outer space on the human body, and he could have survived that actually, like, because he would start depressurizing, but he wouldn't like instantly freeze in the way that we've seen in some other sci-fi
Mhm.
movies where, oh, I think I don't know if it's Mission to Mars. It's a Mars movie with Tim Robbins. He takes his helmet off and he's like instantly frozen. And it's
Tim
like,
Roth?
yeah, it's either Mission to Mars, maybe Red
Remember that
Planet.
one?
Uh I don't remember which one off the top of my head, but it's one of
Mm,
those Mars movies. And this idea that it's like so cold in space that you freeze, but because of like the radiation and just the specifics of space, you don't instantaneously freeze. So it's like the pressure
mm,
change that really does the damage. But the fact that they actually like took the time to acknowledge, like, hey, this could be a very easy, quick death where we open the door, he blows out into space, and then he's just gone, or he instantly freezes, or he instantly dies. Like they took the time and the effort to be like, well, what would really happen to him if he got blown out of the airlock? Could they save him? Like, what damage does that do? And so that was just the thing that stuck with me for like 20 years until I finally was like
that
reading about it. And I was like, oh, wow, like he actually could have survived under the circumstances that they present in that film.
yes, that moment in the film is terrifying. That's part of that I mentioned earlier. Space is terrifying.
Hmm.
See, when I first saw that scene, I remember seeing it, and it definitely affected me. I was in my early 20s probably when I like I said when I first saw it. I was like, that's pretty horrifying. Just
Yeah.
your body's just starting to like come apart, and you're starting to bleed from every orifice. And man, yeah, that scene messed me up the first time I saw it, and I've thought about it ever since. That was the scene that where I first was like, okay, this movie's awesome. I'm really digging this movie. Uh, that because that is when a film can affect you like that. And two things I know that scene was supposed to happen somewhere else with a nut with a. I think maybe it was supposed to be one of the little flashback scenes that we see from the tape or whatever with a character
Mm.
from the Event Horizon, but they couldn't afford to make or something like that. And but Anderson loved the idea of shooting that so much that he kept it in the movie and moved it to Justin's character.
Good. I'm
And
glad.
then they could have just shot that scene where he stays possessed or what have you and goes out there. But to have it where he clicks back to his rightful mind right before it happens is so disheartening that that keeps it from just being another dead body. You connect with that character right there. It's like, holy crap, that is terrifying.
Yeah. Like it messed me up way more watching it this time than any of the other times
Really?
because yeah, it isn't like, by the time we get to Weir and he's ripping his eyes out and he's like choke slamming people across the room, it's like you've gone into a territory that's far less tangible. But with
Mhm.
this, it's like, okay, he's obviously like he was in shock or something from what he saw. And he like even says like
Mhm.
the place inside of me, the darkness, like what it showed me has put me into this like sort of awake coma, and then he snaps out of it, and it's not just his fear, but it's the fear of like the helplessness of everybody around him,
Yeah.
because they're like there's like three or four of them there at the airlock trying to open it, and they're like, fuck, we're not going to be able to do this. And it's up to Captain Miller, who's like, okay, well, this is what I want you to do. Like,
Badass.
listen to me as I'm flying my ass across the space station. Like, listen to me, blow the air out of your lungs, tuck yourself into a tight little ball, and I'm coming for you. And so it really just like it lets you know that not just the sort of reality of that fear of holy crap, I'm gonna depressurize and die in space. All of my friends have to sit there and watch it, and there's nothing that they can do about it. But it also like shows you that this group of people, like they really care about each other,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
this was a very tough save for Miller to have pulled off. but he manages to do it. And so when Justin actually makes it through at the end, it's like, okay, the sacrifice that Miller couldn't make for his friend that's been haunting him, he was able to do for Justin. And that actually like makes his life at like the reveal at the end that he made it. It's like, okay, like he redeems that choice. And so I really like, I love the sort of poetry in that.
Yeah, couldn't say it better myself. Yes. Talking about it puts all these little pieces together, and it just makes me want to watch it again. Actually,
I know, right? I'm just like, it's only an hour 36. We could totally pull it off.
It is a breezy movie. I keep going back to your question about why was it not critiqued well when it first came out. And I know the pacing shouldn't have anything to do with that. So like you said, 136. So I don't know. I'm gonna think about that all night though. Well, until we get to I forgot. You said we're gonna look at
We will. But first, we're gonna do some trivia. Time for trivia. And I know you're well read because you already blew up one of my trivia questions, so we're gonna pivot into something else, I think, if I can sort of rearrange that question. But no, it's totally okay. The trivia is to help inform the audience, not to stump my guests. So it's totally fine. All right, so let's go. Question number 1. The model of the Event Horizon ship includes a complete version of which iconic spaceship as part of the antenna array?
The X-Wing, right? Or
yes,
one
sir.
of the Star Wars X-Wing?
Okay. It is an X-Wing. Somewhere in that first flyby, there's just like an X-Wing as part of the ship. So it's kind of cool that they're like, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to acknowledge that there's other sci-fi movies that we like and we want to pay homage to in the process. But yeah, it's in the first like discovery phase of when the Lewis and Clark pulls up
under it. Yeah.
I know. I'm going to see now. I got to go back and look for that specifically too.
Exactly.
And question number 2. We had talked about how Anderson was not quite a first-time filmmaker, but he had just made Mortal Kombat in 1995. That's a PG-13 adaptation of a fairly rated R property. And he was interested in doing something more mature and more gruesome, and he got the opportunity to do that with this film. But he had to turn down the opportunity to work on 4 other films. Can you name any of those? I'll take one.
I know X-Men.
Okay, X-Men.
I know
2000,
X-Men for
one.
yeah. He mentions that specifically in an interview because it was too rushed for him. He can do. You got Soldier. I don't think I can think of the other one. No, I can only think of X-Men.
Well, that was the first one that popped up for sure. The other one also has an X in it, and that's the X-Files movie in 1998.
That's right.
Which, like, thinking of what this movie is and like how he could have handled an X-Files story, it would have been interesting. I don't know, like that script would have like played into his strengths as a filmmaker the most, but maybe some things change. Alien Resurrection, another 1998 movie.
Yes.
That's another one that's very close to this in terms of like the setting, at least. And he had to turn down doing the Mortal Kombat sequel, Annihilation. In 98 as well. So it was funny too, and you mentioned Soldier because, at least from what I gathered reading about it, when he was working on that film with Kurt Russell, I guess, had seen a screening of Event Horizon, and he was like, I know it's not doing well now. Don't worry about that. He's like, in 20 years, you're going to be proud that you made this movie. And
that's awesome.
That's a very nice thing to say, and I think it's accurate too.
He hit it, yeah.
So hey,
Dude,
props
awesome.
to Kurt Russell.
That's the man.
Check out Soldier.
to have like another artist, no matter what you put this in any art, whether it's writing, music, movie, whatever, to have another artist can see that, who's been there. I mean, Russell was a seasoned actor by 97.
Yeah.
For him to know that, and in a genre that he's not, I mean, he did Big Trouble and the Thing, so he knows, like, just wait, you made something you're gonna be really proud of. Like, and when you listen to interviews with Anderson, like, he's very giddy about this movie. He's very, you can tell he's really proud of it. He loves the movie.
Yeah, as he should be. And so that third question was about sort of those influences of where he got this, and it was Hieronymus Bosch and Peter Bruegel. And he was fascinated with their work as he was touring production. But as a lot of that production design was lost, there was a particular place where they found lost footage where you wouldn't expect it. So we're pivoting. We're doing like question 3.5 or 3B. There is a particular strange location that was listed for where they found some of this missing footage. Do you know where that is?
Is it like a mine, like a salt mine or something
That's
like that?
right. There was a weird Transylvanian salt mine.
I saw that. That
had
stuck out
like
to me.
a reel of this film or something. It doesn't make any sense. Why? Somebody from the
That's so
production
weird.
stole it or sold it and ran away with it, but it turns up in a Transylvanian salt mine. And I don't know if
That's
the
a movie
footage
right
is
there.
even, I don't know if the Event Horizon documentary, that'll be an interesting one. But yeah, that's just a crazy, crazy thing. Because like, does it end up there on accident? Is it on purpose because the mine was abandoned? So like, what were they doing in the mine in the first place? Like, is this a real story kind of thing? I don't know, but it's part of the trivia. So
To go through a portal in hell and come back, and that's
right.
the
It sounds good. I'll give it that. It's a
Yeah,
crazy story to have.
What was the other one that I ruined? Sorry.
It was just about the influences, which Renaissance painters were the ones that influenced the design choices for the visions of hell and the blood orgy.
A lot of people use Bosch because I mean the paintings are is a lot like those scenes you see from the Event Horizon tapes. Yeah, it's being used a lot in horror games right now. I think Layers of Fear is a big one that uses Bosch as inspiration.
Well, it's interesting, like reading the words of Anderson and like why he sort of was drawn to it, and he described it as like their vision of hell was that it was like this real tangible place. And so like we were talking about sort of the religious iconography, it's like by sort of borrowing influences from these Renaissance painters, like there's definitely some symbolism that's involved in this film, but he doesn't ever make it about heaven and hell, which is I like that he could go and see something at a museum, be inspired by it, and the reasoning behind the creation of it, and like bring that into his own project without having to explicitly lay out guidelines for how we absorb it as the audience. That's a really nice thing to do as a filmmaker.
Agree. Totally agree. And that's the kind of you see that stuff come out in the art. Like, nothing feels forced. It's like we mentioned earlier, how you can just watch this movie and tell that the he's making this for us. He's trying to please his audience and a certain audience that he connects with. And he's everything's about, giving you a thrill ride in this movie. And it's things like that. He's not trying to get any kind of point across or preach or anything like that. So it definitely shows.
One other little tidbit of trivia was that so the spacesuits that they used were these big, bulky, fairly accurate spacesuits, like in terms of 1997. And it was just kind of crazy to hear that these things weighed like 60 pounds and that they couldn't sit down in them either. So it's like all of them were having like back problems from wearing the suit. So they had to station basically like meat hooks around the set so that you could like basically like hang yourself on the hook to alleviate all of the weight being on you the whole time. And there's like a story of it was Eisner coming to set on one of the days where they were doing the shoots there, and Laurence Fishburne was like, "Eisner, I blame you."
That's funny. I didn't know that. That I've read it. It was, like we mentioned earlier, it was hell on them. But yeah, and that the suits was just another reason. I didn't dive into like how much they weighed. 60 pounds. Like having to act physically and do everything while you're wearing that. Yeah, that's acting, man. Acting.
Right? I know, because it's like, okay, we need to get all these shots, because it's like, what do you want to do? You want to come back here and do all this again tomorrow? Let's shoot everything we can in the suits today, or at least as close together as we can. But like, you got to be like sweating. You're wearing this thing that's 65 pounds. Like your back is hurting. Oh, we need a second take. Like, this. Like, oh, I didn't
Right?
sign up for this. Meanwhile, Sam Neill's like in the other room getting makeup done for 7 straight hours, and they're like, "Oh man, we're never gonna do anything like this again."
This came out in 97. Sure, he did. So I'm trying to think of what Weir did after that. It probably would cause, where we really had to do stuff like that. I can't think. When did In the Mouth of Madness came out? That came out way before this, right?
Yeah, I think that was like
early 90s.
yeah, 91.
Okay. I think I'm pretty sure the early 90s. I
When
can't
was
think.
he came back for the Jurassic Park sequel, but I think that was before this too. Because I think the Jurassic Park Lost World was 95. I want to say Mouth of Madness 94. And then I mean he's mostly doing like less demanding physical stuff.
Demanding things, yeah. And Fishburne, man, I love Laurence Fishburne. I think he could do anything. He could have been in so many more things, bigger roles, I think, than what he actually did. But as you go back and watch his filmography, that he can even do comedy. He's funny in John Wick movies. He's funny. He's hilarious.
He's very consistent, and I think the first thing I probably remember him from is Just Cause with Sean Connery. Murder thriller, and that was probably like early 90s. And I was like, I like this guy. I gotta watch him do more stuff.
I mean, and he was a guy that wanted to be an actor really bad and would lie just so he could be in a movie shot in the jungle. But he lied about his age just so he could be in Apocalypse Now. And we all know what a shit show that production was.
Yeah.
Like, this guy loves what he loves what he does. I'm trying that movie. I want to find it real quick because it's definitely one you should watch. If you haven't, you've probably seen it. But Deep Cover. I don't know why I was thinking about Blue Collar. Deep Cover. It's a Criterion film.
That sounds familiar. What is the plot of that movie?
Basically, IMDb, a uniformed police officer is recruited by the DEA to infiltrate a drug smuggling ring looking to expand its operation. So it's just like an undercover cop.
Wow. Directed by Bill Duke, too. I definitely have to see this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's so... I saw it last year for the first time.
Okay.
And, man,
I'll put that on my to-do list.
I don't... I think it's on Tubi.
Once I clear out this last week of basically trying to play catch up from last year, then it's like the rest of the year gets to start. So I can check off some more boxes from other.
It's always hard,
years.
Man.
It's no matter how much I watch, I'm never going to watch it all. So
you're right. Yeah.
It's always going to be just chasing the dragon. But
no,
I mean, that looks interesting. And like Bill Duke directing,
so
I'm definitely curious.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now is when we get to go to Critics Corner. And we get to find out all of the horrible things that got said about this film. Maybe back in 1997, but probably some since then as well. And we've got a 0 on the board. Okay, so we're going to start with a 0. This is, I mean, unfortunately, it's like kind of common. I don't know how you could watch any movie and be like, you know what, on a scale of 100, this movie's a 0. Like, you got to give it at least a 1, because otherwise it's like, did you even watch it? No.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, so it was from Salon, of all places. Gave it a 0. There's no name attached to this either, because... cowardice basically, but
yeah, there you go.
It says, trying to figure out just went wrong in the creation of a movie as dreadful as this may ultimately be as futile as trying to ascertain what might lie on the other side of a black hole. Like, this is an empty review. You said nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, there's 0
Why
criticism.
do you feel that way?
Yeah, this movie went wrong, and you threw in some black hole joke. This is a person that I believe did not watch the movie. Maybe was just like, oops, I was on assignment for this and I have to write something because my editor's going to get mad. But yeah, there's nothing to be said there. Okay. See, but that's what we get when, we ask for
a 0.
A 0. Exactly. Okay. Right. So the next one up the ladder is a 30 from the Washington Post, Stephen Hunter. So that's a big jump from a 0. And Stephen Hunter says, the movie is very loud. It is pointlessly loud, arbitrarily loud, assaultively loud. So this guy maybe has like an oral disorder in his ear or something like that. Because I mean, like, sure, there's like explosions. The movie gets loud at points, but like, I watched it 2 days ago, and not once during the entire movie was I like, this movie is so loud. I think during the
You
opening
never had to
credit,
touch the
no,
volume
not
button.
once.
Is that what he's getting at? That it's too loud and where you can't hear dialogue in some point? Like, is he just?
Is it metaphorically loud, like with the blood and the themes and stuff? Like, yeah, this is. I'm sorry,
That's a good
Steven,
thing.
but yeah, sorry, Steven, but no, thank you, sir. And then let's see, we've got two 40s on the board, and that is the AV Club and the Austin Chronicle. So I'll let you pick your poison on that.
Austin Chronicle.
All right, Austin Chronicle. From Mark
It's a movie town.
Savlov, he says, from its marketing impaired title on down, Event Horizon is a steadily churning debacle that promises much more than it can deliver and ends up drowning in a crimson sea of gore and maddeningly out of place steals from other better genre shockers.
It's getting a little better, but still not being specific about why you're saying what you're saying. This is one-line reviews.
And the other review that was a 42, like part of that says to scare the audience with loud noises and gallon upon gallon of fake blood. And I'm like, is there really that much like fake blood? Did these people see the uncut version that we didn't see and they saw the blood orgy and stuff? Because I'm like, okay, like the movie gets to be gory in certain moments, but never was I just thinking like, oh, there's just like copious amounts of blood for no reason.
Yeah, the only is that when she falls down the hole where the ladder is, and all that tank that was water or whatever turns into blood. Other than that, yeah, a lot of that stuff was cut out specifically for that.
Because of you people, Mark Savlov and the AV Club ruined it for the rest of us.
That's an example of what you just mentioned earlier. These people that get put on assignment to review stuff is not a good thing, not a good recipe for review. This movie was made for the horror genre, as you know, the horror fan. They're the ones who should be reviewing it.
Yeah, you would think so, but
Right.
maybe not everybody has like a horror writer on staff at Austin Chronicle. They're just like, we got one movie critic, and he has to go see whatever's coming out this weekend, whether he likes it or not. But we've got everything else on the board is 50s now, and I'm going to save one for the end because it's Roger Ebert, and he hates horror.
Okay.
So we're gonna save Raj for the end. And so in between, we've got the Globe and Mail from Toronto, the New York Times, the San Francisco Examiner, the San Francisco Chronicle, and Real Views. So we'll go with any two of those, but which one do you want to start with?
Give me the New York. Was it New York Post?
New York Times. This is Stephen Holden. Yes, it's America's paper of record. Stephen Holden says, this unwieldy amalgam of science fiction and horror, directed by Paul Anderson, douses almost every scene with glitzy special effects in a futile attempt to cover up a paucity of thought. Okay, buddy. I don't even know what paucity means. Why are you throwing it into your review, bro? You just want to be like, oh, I work for the New York Times. So for the stupid people like me, paucity is the presence of something only in small or insufficient quantities. But I get to learn a new word today. So thank you, go. Mr. Holden from the Times.
Cooper says, man, layman's term.
Right. But so, I mean, like, considering how much like we've talked about and like how deep we got into some of the things in terms of symbolism and things like survivor's guilt and how they chose to address certain visuals and the lighting, and the idea that there isn't any thought that went into this is such like a cursory glance at this movie. Yes. And, I think when people don't like horror, it's very easy to like just turn the switch off when it's like, oh, this was disgusting and now I'm done with it. And then you don't look beyond that. And it seems like that is kind of what a lot of these reviews point to, is that like,
I think you're right.
It offended me to the point where I had to turn off in terms of just self-preservation rather than being able to dig through it. I mean, you and I have seen this movie countless times at this point. So we're like not turned off by any of that stuff, but it allows us to really access all of these parts of the film that it seems like none of these other people are willing to give it credit for.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly right. Exactly how it feels. And it's just, I told you earlier that I've never been someone who reads critic reviews unless it's like an essay on a film or something. I'll read that because we really dive into it. But I don't go to newspaper, is that still a thing? News sites like that to look for critic reviews because it's going to be something simple and quick. You can't say how good or bad a piece of art is in one sentence or two sentences or three sentences. And you can't, and most things you can't dive into like we did without seeing it more than once. So if you're going to look for meta scores and things like that, you got to know that you're really just going to look for a general consensus on something. If you're using that to see if you should go see something, which is fine, but when it comes to really wanting to hear what someone thinks about a movie, I want to read like an article or something. Get into, but if you don't like it, just say you don't like it, and that's fine. I don't just make stuff up. Don't just say, I can say I don't like this movie, but I'm not going to give it a score because I didn't really view it in that way. There's movies like if it's not connecting with me, I turn it off, and I may come back to it later. But it's just like reading a book. If you're going to read this whole book, if it's not connecting with you, or watch this whole TV show, if it's not connecting with you. I know as a critic you can't do that, but there's been highly regarded movies of 2023 that I barely got halfway through and I had to turn it off. But I'm looking now at the Metascore. I see a 35 by critics and a 7.9 by users. It tells you all you need to know right there.
Yeah, people like it. Critics don't, but it seems like critics have all sort of fallen on the same side of like just this sentence of every scene with douses almost every scene with glitzy special effects. Like that's just not true. Like so much of the film is environment building. Like, yes, there are some effect shots that like maybe like get a little crazy here and there, but there's so much of the movie where they're just like in this big empty space that's haunting. And so like glitzy special effects, it's like it's a ball turning. Like sure, like there's lights on it and stuff, and so like it's shiny, but like really like all this is just like a practical set that was built with the actual like moving machine in the middle of it. This is
in
not
like 2 weeks.
Yeah, this is not like the glitzy special effects. This isn't trying to cover anything up. It's like, are you really complaining that in 1997 the digital coolant that hit the guy's helmet like wasn't up to par? Like, oh, they're trying to hide their intentions by like having stuff float in space. It's like it's one of the weirdest things that you could really ding this movie for. Honestly,
you're right. Yeah. We talked in length about the production design and how awesome it was. It's 1997. They're trying to. You want film. You want art to do a little bit of both. You want it to try to push boundaries with the tools of the trade and things like that, especially film. Like that kind of. Or you won't get these big, amazing spectacles that we get now. There would be no Dune without treading this water first. In CGI or effects like that. So. Yeah, it's that. But what you said is basically the bottom line is that's just not true. What they said.
Yeah, it's like it's not true. Like this is not something that is actually happening in the movie. It's like, oh well, I didn't like seeing Laurence Fishburne like whip out a Gatling gun and kill everybody. It's like, yeah, because it didn't happen, brother. So I mean, like this review has a paucity of thought. And we get the last laugh, Stephen Holden, because what's happening to newspapers in general, they're getting out of here. So, I mean, granted, like you said, he is responsible for just giving this like a yes or no kind of answer to his editor.
Right.
And he's not watching it a dozen times over the course of almost 30 years at this point, trying to really dig into the corners of this film. And like, he just took it at surface value and walked away and gave some fucking snarky, bitchy response. I was like, yeah, it's fine, So sorry, Steven, but yeah, last laugh is ours. Okay, so we got 3 more on the board before we get to Raj. We got real views, who I know James Rodinelli, I've read his stuff on here before. San Francisco Chronicle and the San Francisco Examiner.
Let's do the Chronicle, San Francisco
All
Chronicle.
right, San Francisco Chronicle. Peter Stack gives it a 50. Says it's not a great film, but Event Horizon produces an intense sense of visual involvement. Okay. The hallucinatory, almost 3D-like scenes stick in the mind. Okay, look, that's a good review. That's a 50, right? Especially in comparison to this other one that's just like, this is garbage, and I'm like I'm inaccurately representing things from this film in order to prove my point. This is like, hey, it's not great. I didn't like it, but guess what? This thing stuck in my mind. And honestly, like that's the reason that I always came back to it. Because the first time I was like, I don't know if I liked it or not, but it definitely stuck with me in a way that I feel like I have to watch this again. And then once I owned it and it was on cable and like making the rounds then, it's like, oh, now I can watch this a whole bunch and really get into it. And that's where you really get the best parts out of it. So, all right, I'll take that.
Yeah,
Peter.
that's a good one. I mean, I did as on a whole, I didn't love it, but it does have some things that I remember. Yeah.
Okay, and now we get to Raj, Mr. Ebert, Chicago Sun-Times, also gives it a 50, but it's the highest score on the board. He says the screenplay creates a sense of foreboding and afterboding, but no actual boding. So, I mean, yeah, he doesn't like horror movies. He gave it an exact. So I honestly, I think Roger Ebert giving this a 2 out of 4 on his scale is like pretty good. And he mentions the screenplay. He doesn't talk about the gore effects. He doesn't like the pull quote here is not about any of this other stuff that anybody else mentioned. He's like the screenplay creates this stuff. And so he's actually like recognizing where sort of like the core intensity of the film comes from. So I'm going to take that as a positive because he hates horror movies. So the fact that he even gave it 2, I think is a win. And that's a good place to end the corner on Roger Ebert, sort of maybe being on our side, right?
Half Roger's better than no Roger.
Yeah. All right. We'll take it. I mean, I always read Raj when he's on here. We got like some big Siskel and Ebert fans that are in the film club, so I always like try to defer to those guys when they're on the list.
Yeah, I just remember as a kid, for my first observing of a Siskel and Ebert show was they talked about one of the Ninja Turtle movies.
Oh boy.
And they trashed it, but they harped on product placement. And I remember as a kid, I was like, I don't care.
Right?
Show me all the Domino's pizza boxes you can. I don't care. It's Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I freaking love these movies. Like, as a kid, I was like, that was an early experience with I think that was one of the first times I ever saw them on their show or whatever they had on the satellite, and I was like, oh, no, I'm not listening to these guys ever again. like movies is it's art is art. Like, I mean, you like what you like. There's just it's just sometimes you can complain about the littlest things that have no bearing on enjoyment of the film and why other people enjoy it or don't enjoy it. Like being mad that they put Coke and Domino's in there, I don't understand that.
Look, somebody's got to pay for these Ninja Turtles costumes, all right? And Coke and Domino's volunteered, so they're getting prominent placement. And as long as the turtle isn't like looking in the camera being, I love Coke, you should buy Coke. I'm like, fine, whatever. There's Coke in the background. Like, who cares? It's a soda. We know it's a soda. It's not subliminal messaging. Like, if you don't like Coke, don't drink Coke because of the Ninja Turtle movies, you weirdo.
I'm a Pepsi guy, man.
Right? Yeah, I mean, like, it's a weird thing to harp on, but I understand. There are some movies that are like very egregious with their product placement, and hey, if that's what it is, it's what it is. I'll deal with it, and I'll make it through to the end, and then I'll make up my mind on whether or not I want to buy Nikes or Domino's, Coke or whatever. But it's like, Apple is very protective who has their phones like in a TV show. Bad guys are not allowed to use Apple, so you always see like a Google phone or like some other Android that the villain has, and it's like, come on, the villain definitely has an iPhone of some kind.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's like it's I heard about it, and then it just became a thing that anytime someone's on their phone in a movie, like I have to pay attention to it. I'm like,
now I'm gonna do it. So thank you.
so like a good example is watching Succession. I'm like, well, he's got an iPhone. Like he seems like a huge prick.
Oh,
So I'm like,
there you
okay,
go.
but then
Yeah.
a guy like Tom, I think, has an Android.
Tom
But
is awesome.
yeah, Tom is awesome. But I think in that story, maybe like he's considered the villain. I have no idea. It's like the children seem pretty shitty. So
Yeah.
I don't know why Roman or the other brother, I can't think of his name right now, but I don't know why Jeremy Strong's character would have an
Yeah.
iPhone. Shiv, Roman, the other one.
Why can't it?
Honor, I don't know. It's just I'm blank. Succession ended and it just like started to mind wipe, and it's just like, nope, you're gonna lose it, just like the sands of time.
Yeah, you didn't forget Shiv's name.
No,
Or
didn't
Roman.
forget Shiv's name. Not Roman, no. Logan, I know basically everybody else, but yeah, I
Greg?
don't know. Greg, yeah. What the hell is his name?
What
we're
is
not
Charlie
ending the
Strong-
show
Jeremy
until
Strong's-
we remember Jeremy Strong's name. What is it? It is I need to think of like when a time Logan says something to him. Yeah, just look it up. Save us half an hour.
I can't believe I can't think of his name.
He's the main character, basically. I'm just like,
He
"Meh."
is. What? Oh, Kendall.
Kendall, thank Kendall Roy.
Kendall
All right.
Roy. Gosh,
Whew, we can sleep at night at least.
that happens to me more than you know. Like,
Oh my
like,
God.
Oh,
It would have
here's-
been crazy.
like,
We're going to a movie later.
the-
I would have just been sitting there not watching it, like, what is his name? What is his name?
trying to go to sleep tonight. I would just ask Michelle. She remembers all that stuff easily.
I know. I mean, this is what the internet is good for, though.
Yeah.
Look,
Yep.
the information at our fingertips. But yeah, we come to the end of the show. This is how it's done. Season 3, my God, season 3,
Wow.
episode 1. I know it's going to be interesting to see now that I don't have a wedding to plan and all of the other sort of like side details that made me built in blocks to take time off, of how steadfast I'm going to be. Because when I first talked to you about this, I was like, okay, Event Horizon, perfect. I love this movie. I want to have Donald back on to like celebrate the fact that we're made it to season 3. And then when I reached out to the other people that I'm going to talk to, is like, okay, well, Robot Jocks, we're going to do next. Then Life, I think it was 2017, the Gyllenhaal and Ryan Reynolds or the Alien knockoff. And then Hackers, and I was like, okay, well, I guess everybody wants to do sci-fi to start the year, so I'm like, this is a perfectly happy coincidence for me. So this is the first episode of season 3, and it's the first episode of like our unofficial sci-fi month. So we'll see how it goes into the rest of the year.
You're gonna get a lot of that bad movies. We love that whole category. You should see a lot of sci-fi horror, because there's a lot of films that did not, a lot of films in that genre, those genres did not get critically acclaimed, but just hit that sweet spot for a lot of people, especially sci-fi. I mean, there's people that love Lynch's Dune, man. Ugh.
Yeah.
I don't get it. But I mean, but I love that people love it. So that makes sense. But that wasn't planned at all. That's what people chose.
Yeah. I just started looking at the movies that were like on deck, and I was like, okay, well, I guess like it actually works thematically. And hey, January, new year, looking towards the future. I think sci-fi is a good genre. Let's see if I can remember to do that next January. Will be the real test if I can keep it consistent. But yeah, it's going to be a sci-fi month here. So
awesome. That's awesome.
Buckle up, and watch out for that gravity drive. Save yourself from hell. You've got the chance now.
The portal. Awesome. It's awesome that you're doing a third season. Is great. Awesome to listen to all from the beginnings. Being on that first episode is awesome. It's cool that you still enjoy doing it. As someone who experienced it, pretty wore me down a little bit. It's I like seeing people do what they love, and I like listen to people talk about things that they love. So great. I love the show. Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, thanks for being back, man. I mean, there is times where like you get into the trenches and it's like, hey, it's a lot of editing. Like, is it worth it at certain points? It's a question that like you always kind of end up facing at some point. And
Right.
like, when this part's fun, right? Watching the movie's fun. Talking about the movie's fun.
Exactly.
The editing portion is always a hassle. And then like having to shoot it to several different platforms, like, okay, well now I have to do Threads and Blue Sky as well. Like I'm not paying attention to that. So Instagram, Twitter, like put it on the Facebook, like make sure it syncs on the website, all that stuff. Like none of that stuff is fun, but this part is always fun. So thank you for being here and for coming back to celebrate the beginning of season 3.
Thank you. Pleasure was all mine. Thanks for thinking of me.
Yeah, of course, man.
To do another episode.
And
all the people you could ask. Am I the first return guest?
No, because I had a lot of like duplicates in season 2 where it was like before like the shit show started. Like Nick's had come to me, and then I was like, oh, I asked him one night, I was like, do you want to do a show? Because like I had something planned, it fell through, and then he jumped in there and did one, and then
give them some practice when they were starting. Yeah,
and
that was nice.
I talked to Vanya a couple times, and then Seth came back on the show because I did my wish list episode, and he was like, I'll do any of these. I was like, all right, well, we're going to do Battlefield Earth. And he was like, oh no. He's like, why? I'm like, look, nobody else was going to ever volunteer to do this. Okay. So I had to take my chance to do it. So the Seth has been on a couple times.
That guy's awesome.
Ben has joined a couple of different recordings where we had multiple guests, where he came on with Nick's, he came on with his friend Michelle.
Oh, cool.
And I mean, I'm probably gonna forget somebody, so I feel bad, but
no,
it was a whole year and a half. I can't remember everything. I can't even remember what Jeremy Strong's character was. You can't hate me that much. But yeah, so yeah, Seth from Movie Friends has been on. He's gonna have his live show coming up. I think it's on the 13th or the 12th. It's one of the days this weekend. And look, if he wasn't, a 6-hour plane ride away and on the other side of the country, I'd be there. But if you like Movie Friends, check it out. They're hanging out doing a live episode on Shrek. I don't know how they settled on that, since Seth hates Shrek. But
that's exactly what I was going to say. Doesn't he hate them? Maybe that's why. Hopefully, I'm not giving anything away.
No, his hate for Shrek has been well established at this point. So,
yes.
But yeah, we've had a lot of guests. I'm looking forward to getting a couple new guests on here in the beginning of this year as well. Stephanie, who joined the film club, she's coming on to do Life. And then V from the Movies You Miss podcast is going to be here to talk about Hackers to close out Sci-Fi Month with something that's like a little bit more tangible, Earth-based sci-fi as well. So I think that's cool. Yeah, we're starting in hell space and we're going to end in front of a computer. So I think that's an appropriate way to do it.
That's perfect. Sounds amazing start to the year.
It is. Well, cool. Thank you so much, Donnie. I appreciate it, man. You have a good rest of your evening. All right, man?
All right. Same to you. Thanks again, man. Thanks for all the movie stuff you do.
My pleasure, buddy. Take care.
Look, if what Dr. Wade tells us is true, this ship has been beyond the boundaries of our universe, of known scientific reality. Who knows where it's been, what it's seen, and what it's brought back with it. From hell.
My thanks once again to Donnie for coming back, hanging out, talking Event Horizon. It was really nice to talk to him again. It's been a while. You can catch him on his show, You, Me, and a Movie, wherever you get your podcasts. And you can find him on X at SciEnder14. And don't worry, I will put that up in the show notes. And of course, thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to this episode. I know you have a lot of choices when it comes to podcasts, and I appreciate you spending your time with us. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you do, please consider leaving a rating and telling a friend about it. And the new support page is live at ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/badmovieswelove. I'd love to hear from you, so if you have a bad movie you love, and or maybe would like to be a guest on the show, you can contact me now at badmovieswelove@theshice.com or badmovieswelove on Twitter and Instagram, and that's love with an LUV. And as always, take care, be well, stay safe, and have fun however you get your movies.